YouTube, Miss K here. I've decided to officially come on and introduce myself. I've been on YouTube for a little while now, still kind of new to it, but I realized I never officially came on and introduced who I am. So I am an author and poet and spoken word artist. I am the author of Pain, Promiscuity, Purpose, From Mess to Ministry, and it is my testimony in the form of a book. So I will leave the link down below in case anyone is interested. But to give you a little background of my story, as a child, I was abused. I was physically abused. I've gone through sexual abuse and verbal and emotional abuse. And I grew up with the sense of not feeling love. So I look for love in all the wrong places, men, boys, wherever I can get, wherever women, wherever I felt that I could be loved, I went to those places. And I went through a lot of years of being promiscuous. I was during my mid-20s, and I write about this in my book. I was a stripper at night and a medical assistant during the day. And all the while I was out there, I was in church. I've been in church since I was 9 years old. But it took a long time for me to really be transformed. And I write about that in my book. By the grace of God, I was transformed and renewed. And so this is why I'm so passionate about helping other girls and young women who are where I used to be. And one of the reasons why I created this channel was because I know there's a whole other world out there besides Instagram and Facebook where I primarily post. And I wanted to be able to come on here and answer questions and just upload inspirational material. So if you ever have a question, feel free to email me. I'll leave that information down below. I do have a question that I do want to go ahead and address on video, and someone asked, how do I grow my relationship with God? And this is one of the questions I primarily get from people who knew me back in the day when I was a different person, because they want to know, how did you change? Like, what did you do? How did you get closer to God? And one of the things I mentioned is that I was in church already. So it was in church where I met other believers, and I met people who were where I wanted to be. And there were older women in the church who told me the importance of fasting and prayer and reading my word, which brings me to my next point. Reading the word. You definitely want to get into the word of God. And I know some people say, well, it's hard to understand, and I get that because, they say the King James Version is the most accurate. It most accurately matches the readings, the original readings. So one of the things I recommend is to read it in the more simple translation. I personally read a New Living Translation. And you definitely want to research translations to make sure it's credible, because there are some translations out there that are not credible, that are not accurate. And also try a Bible storybook. I tell people, that's how I started reading my word. Of course, I was a kid when I started reading them, but it was those storybooks that helped me to read in the most simple form. And also it helped me to get an understanding of God's character. I learned about Jesus in the Bible storybooks, and when I went to read the actual Bible, I already knew of some of those stories. And also praying. You want to pray. That's one of the ways, that's how we communicate to God, is by talking. And a lot of people say, well, I don't know how to pray. But there's no simple way to, there's no formula to pray. You simply talk to God. You simply, and he already knows. That's the beautiful thing about it. He knows, but he's just waiting on you to come talk to him. And also fasting, giving something up. Fasting is simply giving something up that you normally can't do without, like food or drink. And you don't necessarily have to jump out there and fast for a whole day. You can start just maybe a few hours in the morning. Just try fasting from food. You can fast from social media. You can fast from the internet. Some people, they just fast from things that they otherwise can't do without. Video games. Whatever is something you normally can't do without, and you want to try to practice self-discipline by giving that up, that is a form of fasting. And also being around other people, other like-minded people. You want to be around people who encourage you to be better, and not people who cause you to revert to your old self. You want to, and of course that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to give up all your friends who are not saved, because you do want to be that light. So if everybody around you is already saved, you're not necessarily being that light in a room full of darkness. So you don't have to necessarily give up your friends, but you definitely want to distance yourself from people who cause you to revert. And find people who are where you want to be spiritually, so that way you can adopt some of the practices that they have that actually help them to become closer to Christ. So Again, if you have any questions, I will leave my email down below in the description box, and along with my social media outlets. And I know right now I only have 3 subscribers, and it's all good because we all have to start somewhere. I'm believing and trusting God that the people who I'm supposed to minister to, He'll send them my way. And I hope and pray that what I post here will be inspirational, and it'll be encouraging to you. Feel free to like, feel free to subscribe and share any of my content with people who you feel it will be a blessing to. Have a blessed day.